Nothing but traditional classic shapes on this wall. You got a Les Paul, a Telecaster, a 7-string fan-fret Jackson Dinky, and it is called the Chug Machine. A very cool kid gave me this guitar for a review. I had some concerns about the quality of Jackson guitars, especially the affordable models, but this one doesn't have that much issues besides the fretwork and a couple of things that I'm gonna mention. Let's chug. Here's Jackson's official website at the moment. You select guitars, the Dinky shape, 7-string guitars under the number of strings, and you find the X series. The mahogany color I'm gonna show you today, there's the black and there's a regular IS. Down here we find the Pro series, which are the higher grade ones, and I like these ash ones, but they don't have a fan fret variation. If you're wondering what the difference between the Pro series and the X is, the Pro is a little bit more high grade, better materials, better hardware, active electronics, Fishman pickups. The X series that I'm demonstrating for you guys today comes in two finishes, the gloss black and the stained mahogany satin finish. Fun fact, it's not actually mahogany, but more on that later. It has Laurel fingerboard. Here's the official listing, you can pause and read it if you like. I'm gonna slowly go through the entire listing so we don't lose it with the decades. Features, highlights and specs, the body and neck materials. What's interesting is that this is a bolt-on with graphite reinforcements and scarf joint. Here it's listed. Let's check out the electronics, the Jackson uncovered 7-string blade humbuckers, and the rest of the specs. Now let's check it out in person. Here it is in all its glory. The stained mahogany, except that it's not mahogany, it's actually poplar wood. It does have some impressive specs though, especially for a $700 guitar. The pickups are a pleasant surprise. I was expecting way muddier and no definition, but they're okay. The bridge and the fan fret is a bit of a concern for me though. I'm not gonna discuss the fan fret too much, you can check out my Schecter fan fret video that I recently did for that. Honestly, I was expecting a lot of QC issues with this guitar, but it seems to be done pretty well. The biggest concern that I have with it is the fretwork and the fingerboard radius. Because here's the thing, you have a fan fret with 27 inches on the 7th string and 25.5 on the 1st. Then you have a compound radius on the fingerboard, meaning that it starts on 12 inches for the 1st fret and finishes on 16 for the 24th. This begs the question, how do you set this guitar? You have a nut that is cut for 12 inches and you have a bridge that is set for 16 radius. Combine that with the fact that this is an affordable guitar and the fretwork is not the best in the world. So how do you set it for a low action? So fan frets and compound radius might be ergonomic and all, but are not for everybody and a bit hard to set up. Unless you get it through a proper tech to do it for you. So how did Jackson manage to make a 7-string fan fret for only $700? Well, for starters, you got a bolt-on neck construction on a poplar body. Expensive fan fret guitars have the neck through body construction, for example. Then there's the hardware, the bridge, the tuners, the 3-way switch are extremely cheap. The woodwork, the routing and the pickups are okay though, so I'm still on the fence about the question, should you be buying an affordable fan fret? I'm gonna try to answer it in this video. Let's run through the specs again. You got the Dinky shape of the body, multiple pieces poplar body, a 1-piece maple neck with a bolt-on construction, a Laurel fingerboard, 24 jumbo frets, fan fret of course, multiscale, 27 inches here, 25.5 down here. Jackson die-cast 4-3 tuners, the Jackson logo, 2-way adjustable third rod, a plastic nut, a set of Jackson blade humbuckers uncovered for 7-string. Then we got a bridge consisting of individual cellos to accommodate for the multiscale, volume, tone and a 3-way switch. Jackson have proudly named their pickups the Blade 7-string version, meaning that they are specifically made for the 7-string guitars, and we can confirm that if we check out the 7-string version of the Dinky and then swap over to the 8-string version, which is larger scale, but you can definitely see that the pickups are different. They're bigger, longer. So props to Jackson for not using a 8-string pickup and just slanted for the 7-string version. They're specifically made for the 7-string version, and they're pretty good actually. And at first I didn't want to take them out, but boy am I glad that I did, because under here there's a cool attention to detail and quality. Usually on pickups like this there's only foam, there are no springs, and the routing is pretty good. There's shielding paint in here. As I mentioned, the foam pressing on the pickup so it doesn't rattle here in the cavity, and the first time I'm seeing springs used for that as well. Usually they use them for bass guitars. There's also a ground wire here screwed to the body. I'm pretty impressed. I was not expecting such a good job and attention to detail on a $700 guitar. More of the same here under the bridge pickup. There's shielding foil on the back of the pickup that touches the spring for further grounding. On the back there's also a sticker with the exact designation and model of the pickup, specifically made for the DKAF7 as I already mentioned. Same here. Bridge and neck positions. Again, I'm seriously impressed. I was not expecting to see that under the pickups. The pickup height adjustment screws are mounted directly into the soft poplar body, but I guess that's okay. Oh wow, that's hot. I was not expecting them to be that hot for passive pickups. 1898 for the bridge position. That's active pickups territory. Switching over to the neck. 1906, still hot. Middle position. 972. Let me figure the controls out. This is the master volume, so the other one should be the master tone. Let's check out. I'm gonna switch over to the neck and rotate it. Yep, nothing happens. So I got master volume, master tone, and metal knurled knobs that are recessed into the body. Why recess them like this though? I have a theory. Poplar is softer wood, doesn't have a maple top. Maple is a hardwood. They did the same on the back. You see the pots are recessed. This is so the guitar has as much meat or as much body, so when the pots are installed or various hardware, they don't crack the top of the guitar. Poplar is a soft and easy to work with material used mainly in the furniture business. So the thicker the better for stability and no cracks. I don't know if I should call this a bridge. They're just individual saddles that have been arranged to accommodate for the multiscale of the guitar. Just 7 individual saddles mounted to the poplar body with 2 screws, which begs the question, are they stable enough on a soft material like this? So the color is called stained mahogany, and it has a thin layer of polyurethane on top of that to get that satin finish. Even though the color is called mahogany, the body is made out of multiple pieces of poplar. It's also slightly curved, it's not a flat top. There are some comfort cutaways, the most important one here for the high fret axis and one up here. Moving over to that bolt-on neck, you see the fingerboard overhangs here at the edge. And if you're worrying about neck stability, there's a lot of contact surface between the maple neck and the poplar body. The fingerboard glued to that maple neck is made out of laurel, a substitute for rosewood. The side dots and the offset dots on the fingerboard are made out of perlite. 24 jumbo frets, and the guitar definitely needs some fretwork. At least they're not overhanging and scratching, but I think there are a lot of unlevel frets on here. Definitely give it to a guitar tech to check out how the nut is cut. It's made out of plastic after all, 12-inch radius as I already mentioned, and I can never get used to how the fingerboard continues after the nut on these fan fret guitars. The massive pointy Jackson Dinky headstock with the white logo, and that's a thin piece of black veneer on top of that maple headstock. If you look closely, there are some flames going on here at some spots, which is pretty cool. The neck is reinforced with graphite and scarf joints, whatever graphite reinforcement is, I'm not aware of it. Two-way adjustable truss rod, and let me show you something cool. This is not the original truss rod cover. The kid who owns the guitar made it himself and made it matching the color of the guitar. Wrote Chug Machine on it, which is pretty cool. And the holes are matching perfectly. So, handmade in 2023. That's so cool. Remember when you were a kid and you used to care about the things you own that much? Yeah, we're old now and we don't have the time. The nut is 1.88 inch wide. The 12th fret is at 2.38 inches. Thickness at the first fret, 0.76 inch, pretty thin. Thickness at the 12th fret manages to stay thin, 0.82 inch. This is because of the reinforcement. The body is approximately 1.53 inch thick, but remember, the top is curved, so it gets thicker at some spots. The Dinky has a compound radius, meaning that I have to use two gauges to measure it. 12 is okay on the first fret, but you see light shining through on the last, meaning that it has flatter radius. If you use the 16 radius as they mentioned in the website, it's okay, no rocking, no light shining through, but if we use it here on the first fret, it rocks. So yeah, compound radius 12 to 16 inches. Here's what the neck profile looks like on the first and 12th frets, pretty flat and thin. Couple of interesting things going on in the back. First of all, we got the separation of the different pieces of poplar body. I see at least 4 pieces. Again, the color is mahogany, don't let that fool you. The actual color of the poplar wood is lighter, not like mahogany, reddish. It has been stained with mahogany color paint to achieve this mahogany wood effect. 7 staggered ferrules for the string-through body construction. A big comfort cutaway for the belly, and you see 2 pieces of poplar being glued here, the separation line. A little bit of high fret axis cutaway on the lower horn, and the line continues alongside the neck joint. That's why you cannot use a plate for the bolt-on neck construction. Instead you have these 4 bolts that are recessed into the body and are holding this massive maple neck pretty stable. Moving over to the electronics compartment, which has shielding paint in it. Affordable Alpha 500K pots and this cheapo 3-way switch. I would immediately replace this 3-way switch. I was wondering why did they use the Alpha 500K short shaft pots, and I was thinking they could have used a long shaft pot instead of route the body to accommodate for the pots. You see, this is the short shaft pot, this is the long shaft that is usually used on Les Paul guitars that have thick maple tops. So instead of routing the body, why not just use the longer pot? Well, here's the thing, Alpha pots are affordable. The CTS pots are twice the price of the Alpha pots, and long shafts are even more expensive. It's a cost-cutting thing, and they might have been too long. Imagine if you have to put expensive parts like 3-way switch and pots in 1,000, 2,000 guitars that you produce, you're gonna lose a lot of money and you're not gonna be able to sell them for $700. You gotta put cheap electronics in hardware. Another look at the electronics compartment with the routing for the pickups, ground wire, the output jack, replacement strap button here and one over here. The cover for the electronics compartment has a satin finish and it's shielded from the backside. Here's a look at that one-piece maple neck with graphite reinforcement, and they had to reinforce it because it's pretty thin. Also, the headstock is connected via a scarf joint. I've never seen one being that further back from the headstock. You see it? The connection line. Anyway, it's here. Also, the neck has a thin layer of poly finish. It's not exactly natural, doesn't feel like the wood. It has a finish on it. What else? Sealed Jackson die-cast tuners. These are pretty bad. If you want to upgrade something on this guitar, start with the tuners. So, it was made in Indonesia. The serial number shows that it was made in 2021. Compliance regulation sticker on here. I'm gonna set the Chug Machine in drop A 7-string tuning with 1059 Elixir strings. I wasn't gonna bitch about this, but it annoys me. I've done this way too many times, feeding the strings to the back of the guitar. You just position it like this and you feed the string to the body, but on this bridge or individual saddles, the string goes through the intonation screw thread. You see it? It happened way too many times now and I'm annoyed. This happens because if you have to adjust the intonation, you move the saddle further towards the nut and the hole that you're feeding the string to gets smaller and smaller and the intonation screw gets in the way. So yeah, that's my problem. Yeah, sorry, I just had to get this out of my system. That's lightweight for 7-string with maple neck, 7.53 pounds. what do I think about the Dinky fan fret? Well, honestly, I was surprised of the quality. I was expecting a lot worse, but the woodwork, the routing, everything seems to be done pretty well. It suffers from cheap hardware and electronics though, but this is to be expected from a $700 guitar. Do you need a 7-string fan fret with compound radius though? I'm on the fence about this one. Maybe without the compound radius, because having the nut cut for 12-inch radius and the bridge set for 16 is already a nightmare for an affordable guitar to set up. In any case, you're gonna have to give it to a proper guitar tech to do some work for you, especially the fretwork. So here's what I think. For $700, yes, you can probably afford the experiment. It's not a bad guitar, but you're gonna probably have to invest in a better 3-way switch and especially better tuners. I hated the tuners on this Jackson, so swap them out as soon as you can. Do some fret leveling, maybe cut a proper new nut by a guitar tech, and you got yourself a decent guitar. Maybe the Pro Series are a little bit better, but if you're looking for a proper fan fret, look for more expensive.